When you take things personally in your business, it's your brain's way of ensuring that you stay committed to your fears and perceived limitations. When you take radical personal responsibility in your business, then you can see everything purely as data. And only one of those ways is going to get you the results that you want. In today's podcast, I'm going to share with you my story of taking things personally in my business, how it led me to the edge of depression and a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and what I did to change that story. And as always, we're making sure that you have plenty to think about for yourself and provide your aha to action ASAP exercise at the end. So if you're ready, let's dive right in. Welcome back to the Build Your Business Six-Pack podcast. Now, I have been working for myself on and off since 2004. Wowzers. But I would say that I really started my first business properly in 2012. And it was very much a why not decision. It was something that at first was very, very fun. I'd come into a tiny little bit of money and I was working in a pretty dead-end admin job just to kind of bring some money in. And I decided to train as a personal trainer because I had this real personal journey with body image and health and so on. And I became a personal trainer and I was like, why not let's just try to see what happens if I start doing exercise classes? And that's pretty much how it started. There was nothing really at stake. I had the part-time job and I saw myself as merely sharing my passion for health and fitness, and making some money on the side sounded really good. And then I became metric mad. Social media became something that I became obsessed with. It was about the number of people in my class. If people didn't turn up, what did I do wrong? What could I do to get them in? If I had a full class, I felt really, really great. I worried about seasons like summer holidays and Christmas when, numbers naturally just dropped off, and I became obsessed about money. I exhausted myself by over delivering. I gave a lot of stuff away for free. I could never, ever switch off. So I ended up working part-time, dragging my kids up to these fitness classes 5 to 6 times a week, doing all the admin on top of that. And wine became my coping mechanism for the constant anxiety that I felt. And having had depression before when I'd had my children, I could really feel that threat, that darkness getting ever so scarily closer as I headed towards what I knew was depression. Now, I would love to tell you that my journey out of this was quick and easy, but it was neither. It started in 2015 after I received a free copy of the Motivation Manifesto by Brendon Burchard. And I remember so clearly laying in the bath reading it and just for the first time realizing that I wasn't my thoughts. And that, as he phrased it in the book, I could defeat my demons. And then in 2016, I became an NLP coach, which again gave me an even greater understanding of how my brain worked, how I developed the thought patterns and the filters and the belief systems that I did, and then the tools that I could use to begin changing that. And then in 2018, the really big change happened when I flew to Arizona to actually train with Brendon Burchard as a certified high performance coach. And I'd still like to tell you that back then it was all totally fixed, but it wasn't 100% fixed. My demons still showed up. And as we began to navigate the difficult journey of my dad's cancer, things became really pretty tough. When he passed away in November 2021, I had this absolute certainty that I could never, ever be the same. And not in a bad way, in a way that would honor what his journey, our journey together, had taught me. So to change my story, it was a combination of new knowledge, implementing that knowledge, coaching, a huge amount of self-love and self-acceptance, gratitude, honoring myself and my journey, and remembering the truth of what I really am, what you truly are, which is limitless in potential and possibility, because you are literally an extension and an expression of the universal energy, which is creative. And I also want to let you know that I didn't get coaching for a really, really long time. I didn't, it took me a long time to get all the knowledge that I have now that I share with you as, a coach across the podcast, in my free trainings, on my social media, with my coaching clients. It's taken me decades of finding all that knowledge, learning all that knowledge, implementing it so that I can make your journey more quickly. This is why the aha to action ASAP is so important. because I don't want to just sit here and talk to you. I want you to be able to take something tangible, start to implement it immediately, and start to get those personal breakthroughs that will show you, or will show evidence inside your business. So now let's make this about you. When you're taking things personally in your business, whether it's the comments that you do or don't get, the money you make, the sign-ups to your webinars or your freebies, your lead magnets, the number of people that, buy on a launch, any of those things, what's actually happening is it's you filtering neutral information. And I'm going to tell you which podcast to go listen to understand more about that neutral, oh my goodness, put my teeth in, neutral information. So it is you filtering neutral information and adding meaning through what you truly think about yourself, your deepest fears, and your perceived limitations. It's a way for unresolved issues to present themselves in a different way, like wearing a different outfit. So as an example, some of you will know that when I was young, from about the age of 12, I started to, stop eating. And I developed an eating disorder, and I had massive body weight issues, and I was obsessed with what I weighed and all the things. And that I can look back now and just notice that that was my first real experience of not being enough, not fitting in. And then when I thought I'd dealt with that, I ended up in really crappy relationships that weren't healthy. So that was another way that my not enoughness showed up. And then when I dealt with that, it was money mindset in my business and not being enough, right? So they can just present themselves in different ways. It's also about you disconnecting from why you started your business, the passion that drove that decision and the people that you want to serve. And instead you favor focusing on just how you feel. And it's all perfectly normal. There is no blame, no shame, no judgment. You're just human. We're all just human having a human experience, and we don't know what we don't know. Now, like me, you may have been totally unaware that starting a business would set you on this emotional roller coaster. You may have had no idea, like me, that building a business is basically the hardest personal development journey you could ever have picked, right? I think we might be slightly weird, but that's okay because I love a bit of weird. It is simply just another skill set that you have to learn. It's a skill set that we don't get told about when we start our business. We think it's all about the strategy. We think it's all about just putting stuff out there. And we really don't know that it's really about how we have to show up for ourselves. And that's why inside the Build Your Business Six-Pack framework, I've got tools to teach you exactly how to do that. And now let's take a look at the other side of the spectrum. Radical personal responsibility. I absolutely blooming love that word, radical. It just, for me, and I just feel it in your body now. When you say radical personal responsibility, does it not just feel like it anchors into like the core of your being? Like I'm willing to take radical personal responsibility for my results. Because when you take things personally, it's common to get angry, frustrated, disillusioned with the results, and that's your first default experience. When you take radical personal responsibility, you'll look first at how you showed up for those results, how you might have created the results, and then you play detective for what you could have done differently. One of the questions that I love to give my clients if they're getting into their head about a result that they have or have not achieved, if they haven't achieved it, is if this wasn't about you, why else might it not have worked the way that you wanted to? I'm going to repeat that. You might want to write that one down. If this wasn't about you, why else might it not have worked the way that you wanted it to? Ultimately, taking it personally makes you a victim who believes that something outside of you is creating your business success. Taking personal responsibility forces you to play detective and own that role as the creator of your results, the creator of your destiny. Now, there is no easy bridge between taking it personally and taking radical personal responsibility. You have to literally build the bridge as you go. And when I do this with my clients, coaching them through that BP6P framework, we focus on 3 key areas: brain and mind, body and energy, certified high performance coaching, and strategy. And each of those elements offers a myriad of ways to build your bridge of belief. And in today's Aha to Action, I'm going to share one of my favorites. So make sure you've got your pen and paper ready and let's get going. So with the aha to action this week, I always find it super helpful to have a tool to use in the moment. Whilst I love over a period of time to encourage my clients to create a state, to create a belief system, there are going to be times when your ego kicks in and the brain starts working a million miles an hour and you still start to feel like poopsie and you're going to just want something in that moment, right? Because that is just what the human brain does. It's not you, it's the human brain. So I want to share with you what I call my AAA process, and it goes like this. Step number 1 is awareness. You recognize that you're suddenly in that space again. Some of you will feel it first. Some of you will hear the head chatter first. But the minute you have this awareness, take a beat and check in with the question, what thought is my brain currently offering me? Now, even just asking the question in that way, what you're doing is you're detaching from you being your thoughts. You're saying, what is my brain giving me here? What is my brain making this particular thing mean? Right? You're not making it personal. You're not saying these things belong to me. You could also ask, what thoughts or thought is making me feel this way? That's the first one, awareness. You want to have an awareness of what thought or thoughts are creating this current state that is not helpful and it doesn't feel good. The second step is affirm. So now you want to immediately affirm something different. Now, this doesn't have to be super positive, happy clappy. It can be something that brings you to a place of neutrality, something that brings you to a space of resourcefulness where you have the impetus to do something. It doesn't have to be rah, 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 because sometimes that gap is just too big to jump. Right? We just want to move you away from the negative, and neutral is good enough as you do this practice. So I'm going to give you an example. No one is signing up for my free training. It's going to be so embarrassing if I'm the only person there, or maybe like just one person shows up. This is a complete waste of time. I should never have bothered. Right? So you've had the awareness, you've gathered some of the thoughts, and now you're going to affirm something different. Whatever happens, I'm going to show up like there are 300 people. I'm going to be more intentional actually now with how I show up to promote this over the next couple of days. And I choose for this to be at least an opportunity to learn. Right? None of those are like, yeah, there's going to be 1,000 people on my webinar. Yeah. None of that. You can totally do that if you want to. Right? But we're just finding a way to change the default. And the third part is act. This is the cement that anchors in the affirming statement. Act quickly so your brain doesn't get in that space and make that joint weak. So you could, in this instant, choose to immediately do a post or a live or an email about your incredible free training. You might want to do some anchoring to anchor yourself in. So anchoring in, breathing in those lovely 3 affirming statements you just had. You might want to go out and sending some DMs. You might want to go to a networking event. Like, act and act quickly. This AAA process is brain changing, and it's changing your brain as you practice the experience, as you practice the tool, right? It's not going to just happen overnight, but the more you practice it, instead of your brain always offering you this default, it's going to start offering you something that's more purposeful, something that's more resourceful, but you do have to use it. So it's very simple: awareness, affirm, and act. Now, if you are struggling to grow your small business and have your next business breakthrough, I really encourage you to go take my business breakthrough quiz. You can find it in the show notes. It will show you specifically where your business block is right now. And in the report that you get sent out, it will tell you how to kind of create your next business breakthrough, what that looks like, and some very simple action steps to get you going. So please make sure you go grab that now. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. Please do leave me a review. It really does help bump me up. And I will speak to you again in the next episode of the Build Your Business Six Pack podcast.